Hello, everyone. My name is Mike Dickovisky, Director of the Texas Emergency Crisis Response Team. On my right is Paul Tandis, one of our chaplains, and on the left is Assistant Director Mike Alvarez. And we're here to tell you how we all got started and where we are today. About 15, 16 years ago, I was at a small church and a pastor asked me, "Can you start a men's group?" I said, okay, and I looked at the crowd of men, and they mentioned starting a men's group, and nobody seemed interested. So I said, I told the pastor, I said, so let's pick a name. And I said, how about Warriors Sworn to the Cross? And we had that name, all of a sudden everyone started signing up. So we had about 10 men in the group, and we started as a Bible study, but they go, we already do Bible study. They said, we want to do something different. So I said, let's just talk. And we found out we had veterans in there, policemen, firemen, a nurse, and some other people. And they all seemed to have, when we would talk about trauma situations that they couldn't talk to at home or tell their families about. And we did this process group for about a year. And then we said, well, how can we help other people? And I said, well, most places have chaplains. And I go, well, what if we want to be chaplains? I said, a lot of departments, the chief picks a chaplain out, and sometimes it's his buddy, and they go to ceremonies and funerals. At the time, 15 years ago, not very many chaplains, they would be there for the person, but they didn't know how to process any kind of trauma with the person. So we looked into it. And instead of starting from scratch, I had went to the Billy Graham School for Pastors. So I called Billy Graham up, got his son, and they were working on a Hope for Crisis program. So instead of us both developing a different program, we developed a program together. And so for 3 years, we had a contract. We did Hope in Crisis is what we taught, and people attended from different churches. And I said, well, we want to go a little further. We still want to be chaplains. So I checked in what the state and federal requirements were, did the research, and we started doing all the training to be able to become certified as chaplains. And the one catch was you have to have a church sponsor you if you're not sponsored by an agency. So we formed a nonprofit church, the Warriors Sworn to the Cross Missionary Church, nonprofit. And we made it a nonprofit church with a board and got all official paperwork done so we could operate and have authority and basically have guidelines and everything. So everyone that we're serving is on the same track. So then we had to take the training. And once we took the training, we had to train those people to become instructors. And they became instructors. And then we said, now that we have people in this little area, how can we serve more? And so we said, why don't we make it statewide? So we started teaching statewide and developing chaplains all over the state of Texas. And then different police agencies and fire agencies, what we would do is we'd go and give them our card and said, if you know anybody that needs some help or wants to talk, can you give to them? We didn't say if you need, because then they said we don't want it. So I said, if a friend or something. And we started leaving on fire engines and police cars all over the state of Texas. And finally, they started doing a mutual agreement with us for us to be their chaplain. And 2 years ago, the state of Texas, the Department of Public Safety, the state police says, we want to vet your program so you could teach it out of our academy. So they vetted our program, and we taught out of our academy 2 or 3 years. And we actually take calls from the troopers in the field along with other police and other agencies. But I had a vision 15 years ago when I was a police officer in Dallas. We would go to a family who had some people in their family murdered, and we'd give them the news and we'd just leave. There's nobody there to comfort them or anything, or if any kind of news or disaster we went to, we were there just to take a report and leave. And I felt so bad. I said, man, how is family going to handle this situation? And later, when I was a federal agent, I worked on corruption. And a lot of agents that became corrupt or blackmailed, or there's all kinds of reasons, but they were facing going to jail or prison. And the first thing they want to do is commit suicide because they don't see a way out. And I said, well, there is a way out. But at that time, they had nobody to talk to. Nobody wants to talk to anybody under investigation. So I said, there's a need for these people. And seeing all the different suicides, being a veteran myself, we see, there's 20 suicides a day or a minute. I forgot the exact thing, but I'd see that. I said, we need to do something. Well, one of the things was there was a stigma. If you were a vet and you get PTSD and you put it on your work application or you got diagnosed, nobody wanted to have anything to do with you. It was like saying, I'm crazy. Can I work for you? I got PTSD. And everyone said, no. So it became a stigma. So a lot of veterans would not seek any help from mental health professionals because they didn't want to get put on a stamp that you have PTSD. Or policemen that have, now they realize that police and firemen have PTSD, teachers have PTSD. Anyone who faces trauma and they can't get over it is basically PTSD if it lasts for years. Most of us will have trauma, but we'll get over it in a period of time. But if you can't get over it, those are the people that need someone to talk to. So we also refer people to mental health. We give them emotional, spiritual help. And we're going to show you a video to start. And Mike's going to tell you what he does with his care dog. And Paul's going to share some stuff from Kerrville that we had last year. Can we show the first video?
We also find the ratios. There we go. We got four. Professors, questions, follow-ups, nonprofit, layout of trade versus spot. About this fire type, veterans, innocent accounts come together thousands to serve by lines of trash. We respond to aftermath shooting, disasters, and sudden death in a bushes sponsored final car, those spiritual moments, suicide, like it prevents. Those are out with current sanity present. Our team of spiritual care, ocean sport, situational counsel, vitamin source, but unbelievable God battered ignorance that face something. Give the heart, encourage the cause as a place you join us, accept the new adaptability. We also had donations to the video color track.
Okay, that was our first video. We have two more coming after we speak a little bit. Mike.
So good afternoon, guys. I am Mike Alvarez.
Work City of Dallas or Point Gears or Dallas Week Park. Came to Christ right back up. Knew Christ as a child, right? Had us history of religion, and then I really never had a relationship to Christ. As a police officer, the only reason why I would go to church is I got killed. That we maybe I go there. I didn't know I would go there. Maybe I go there and just because I'm at church. So we had a rapist of Johnny Hemford on Creeple Avenue, and that was my World War II with my second to that drill. And my sergeant came to me and asked me one night, he said, "Hey Albert, you mind working with this young man Clay?" I said, "Why would I mind working at the maker? What do you know, but first?" I said, "No." So I believe in God. I said, so I did that properly. So we worked on 4 weeks together, just not even answering calls. The owner so said you just wanted to see a police car, driving around and go safe. So we did that for about 4 weeks, and he would bring a Bible with a police car. And I'm like, why in the world would you bring a Bible with what's for? And you go, well, and like I preach next Sunday, and our patch out, and somebody come up creep for our bike salutation in high school. Why don't you come critique me and see how I do? But that was his little way of getting to go to church. So is that true? I'm good with that. Over 20-some years later, 30-some years later now, and the way for playing me after we started with that Bible, I have no idea what I eat for that, bro. And what a better place for about be, and it's way smart. I look back down, like, it's amazing to see God burn in my life, where I am today, and where I was. My good academic time and time again, you have law enforcement, fire department. It's lacking that element, Christ in that element. So I look at the governor officer nowadays, and Lane been sitting in the room so into this. We call it detail when you get assigned where you're gonna go. And Lane was sitting in the corner by himself. Cool guy be sitting over here. And I tell I'm like, that's a stick in and of itself. Nobody wanted to associate with a Christian guy. And I'm like, that would be such a badge of honor now to have to say, hey, I'm that Christian guy sitting over the corner. Yeah. So in speaking with the younger officers nowadays, it's like there's a need, they see the need, and I'm trying to get these younger guys to say, hey, I want you to be that didn't make go sit in that corner. We're being poetic. You say, hey, you're that Christian kid, you're that Christian guy, or you're that Christian gal that want to cut to talk to you. So God put it on my heart a few years back. I felt full-time law enforcement that I want you to go out and do this. Want to be that mentor, that image to younger officers. And I said, nah, Brian, no God, I'm not the guy to do this. I said, if you know the things that I've done in my past, I said, I'm not the man for this job. And it kept on in. And then I finally broke out and said, if this is what you really want me to do, then you're going to have to open every single door. I'm not going to open a door. You need to open every single door for it. Well, then Michael and I know each other. Or did we did? You put something out, think about Facebook, wanting to chat with us. Nope, that's well. And we reached out to each other, made contact, because it was history. And we opened all the doors, calls, applications, everything that we ever did. This opened the doors for us. And the blessings have been abundantly after that. It did the mate. We were blessed with this dog. It's $40,000 dog right here. Was given to us. She is a trauma support dog. I did. Yeah, I there had the canine. She, like I said, she was blessed with us. And to see her work, to see the things she does, it's amazing. I was going to go into more detail about Fergal, but I did have one quick story about Kerrville. We were down there. I was down there the whole entire month. I don't know how we reached it. I don't want that well. But we were down there the whole entire month. Y'all remember that was 4th of July, get right. We were out celebrating. I was in the Houston area at the time. Our phones started going off like crazy. PV, everything notation started going off. Felt it was just, and I tell my light that I hope we got to refer it. And so she and I loaded up, and then we started commuting all down Kirk. We got there kind of crazy. It was the first few days, but then we were at a re-education center, and so Mato was there. Several people from Camp Mystic, as well as campers along the river, were all in one location during that time. And the individuals were being told, he had notified that their loved one were being deceased. So we would watch and see who needed to be comforted, who we could be talked to at the time. And so I had met contact with this family a little bit of life with their daughter missing. And the dad and all were made. One Babel just tugging on her stuff. The mama didn't have anything to do with Babel at all. She could only touch me. We saw that they were getting notified that their daughter was found deceased. And but they were notified that if we followed to the girl on where they were to identify the body, mama didn't want to go identify the body. So she stayed back. I stick back by mom. Dad went in, identified the body, came back out. It shook his head. This, that's her. She immediately fell to the ground as he started hugging on his dog. The sight, because I saw right there, like, man, that was God. But that gave us a dog to give her comfort. And I'm like, man, chewed it. I did a dog, I'm like, give it to her girl. So, God has blessed us, blessed me, like cold individuals, and just even crying right now. So this is something. But yeah, it's a touch my heart, and they continue to touch my heart. When I just let in, that the opportunity to be through. God continues to bless us for the thing we do, and get every people's lives. Doors are open with the agencies. Every top with the partnered up with DPS at the Dickard with the State Cruiser as well. That notifications, it's just many more different realms with this organization. Thank you.
When I took 12 of us down to Kerrville, we went into the family room where all the families were, and this is before they knew anybody was deceased. And they were crying, and they were yelling, they wanted answers. And the chaplains I had with me, I said, we got to talk to these people. And they looked at me, and they go, how are we supposed to talk to those people? Look at, they're angry, they're crying, they're yelling. And I said, you just need to hang out. Get a cup of coffee, and we're going to hang out as long as it takes to talk to them.
Thank you, Michael. Both Michaels. So my path becoming a chaplain was a little different. So I'm kind of from the civilian world, from business. And so I worked as a manager and team leader in restaurant.
What do you have?
A little closer. How's that? Better. Closer. Okay, there we go. Okay, thank you. Working in business as a team leader, manager, owner of a business, I had a lot of people under my command, so to speak, or that I needed to lead, and I saw a lot of heartache, a lot of problems, a lot of just trying to survive and live, and working oftentimes in low-paying jobs. And I was very frustrated at this, and I was going to leave, and a friend of mine came in and was having lunch. We had a little cafe in our restaurant, and we were walking around. I was telling him, and he just said, Paul, this is your mission field right here. You have 400 people a day coming into this store. This is your mission field. And it totally changed my idea of being in business, a Christian being in business. And so that was kind of my start as far as looking at compassion for others and workers, and when they were sick, how to deal with that and helping them to get through that. So knowing that my ministry was 24/7, now it wasn't that, I went to church or went to Bible study and talked with my Christian buddies and said all the right words. It was 24/7 wherever I was and however I was acting. In 2017, a friend of mine twisted my arm and said, why don't you go ahead and come in and do this chaplain's program? And so I did. After that, I started saying, where am I going to serve? So I did a couple different areas. One was looking at hospital, hospital, hospice, and fire department. So I was serving at the fire department in Denton, and afterwards, I realized that oftentimes it's not about, or most of the time as a chaplain, it's not about evangelizing. It's not about proselytizing for sure. It's about the ministry of presence and just being there. And so that was kind of my start in understanding what chaplaincy is as a Christian, and just as a person with others and others that are struggling with life and also then struggling with trauma. So just a little over, I guess, a year and a half ago is when I joined Texas Emergency Crisis Response Team, and the training and the specific topic of trauma and crisis for first responders and for victims of violent crimes, that type of trauma was very specifically addressed in the training. And I had also been a part of, I don't know if you all are familiar with community emergency response teams, CERT teams, which is through Office of Emergency Management. And I live up in Denton, so it's Denton County. And so I was serving there, and they started to recognize me as a chaplain for that organization. So to make a longer story shorter, when the tornadoes up in Sanger and Valley View happened 2 years ago, they called me out to be one of the chaplains there. And lo and behold, I didn't even know it, but Mike was up in Valley View at the same time. We didn't know each other. But that kind of started me thinking about emergency response. The training that we received on mental, emotional, and spiritual support was really, really crucial. And I really appreciated that, and it gave me a very well-rounded idea. So now here comes Kerrville. So now we're deployed, and some of the things that happen during this. So remember that as Office of Emergency Management, they're very structured, and you have to go through a lot of training and understanding the incident command system and how you do not deploy or self-deploy. You need to wait to be called. You need to be assigned to a certain area. So here comes Kerrville, and that's exactly what it was like. So we had to wait. So here we are at home on the phone, waiting. Are we going? Are we going? So then we finally did get the call to go, and arriving there, we had to go to the incident command and wait basically to see what our assignment was. And as Mike Alvarez was saying, we are assigned to two different places. And so one place was the Family Reunification Center. Excuse me. And then the other place was the funeral home. And so we split up as a team and alternated. At the Reunification Center, this sounds very organized and with systems in place. Well, you walk in, and I think the first thing I said to Michael, because we drove together, was, okay, it's real now. As we were getting out of the truck and we were watching people pacing back and forth and crying. And so inside the church, there was probably close to 100 people, and direct family, friends, community, definitely a law enforcement presence, DPS victim support team, and all basically in one room. And notifications were taking place off a little bit. So as Michael was saying, Michael was saying that when we walk in, we look at this scene and we're going, okay, where do we start? And walking in, DPS wanted us all to look the same. So that's why we all wear this uniform. That's why we wear a badge. And so we walk in and we look like law enforcement. And so for some people, that already is a stop sign to be able to talk with us. So we, again, the Ministry of Presence, slowly inch our way, observe, see who's hurting, see who would allow us to sit next to them, and just move in and sit. And maybe after a little while, just say, "Are you holding up okay?" And then maybe a little while, you want to tell me about why you're here? And that just brings me to the training that we received is all about knowing how to assess and looking at the cognitive abilities, the physical abilities, emotional, spiritual, and understanding where people are in this process without sounding like we're interviewing them. So after that, let me see if I got to look at my notes here. Michael told the story about Mabel and the woman. That made a very big impact on me as well, because we had unintentionally followed this family from the reunification center where they got notified, and the trauma that happened in the church when they were notified, then over to the funeral home. And literally, it's the same thing there. We were just there as the presence if they needed. And when that mama found out, she literally collapsed on top of Mabel. And Mabel was just like, "I'm here for you." And so for me, it's not about the uniform. It's not about the badge. It's about the ministry of presence and being able to be there for someone in their worst day. And there's a lot of people who are walking around with trauma that don't want to talk about it. And I would say the hardest thing for me to do is after an incident is for me to walk away and know that I'm probably not going to ever talk to that person again, and wonder and pray if they're okay. So I think first responders, there's some statistics that first responders experience traumatic events like 600 times more than any civilian in their lifetime. And that's a lot to carry. So we're hopeful that some of them will reach out for that type of support, whether it's mental health support, spiritual support, or just the ministry of presence.
Thank you. I want to touch base real quick. We're in Uvalde as well. When Uvalde, Pueblo, and we were down there, and the first few days again were chaotic. I want to say it was 3 to 4 days into it, we started talking, and we were wondering who's comforting their grandmother. So the girls were throwing over. It was the teenage grandson that left he shot the grandmother in the face, shot her in the cheek. She survived. That he left the house and went to the school, did the shooting at school. Everybody was focusing on the kid, rightfully so, and the shooter. And nobody identified or talked to the grandmother and her husband and her grandpa. So we ended up having to go to we went to their house, knocked on the door, and they were just in shock. Because nobody wanted to talk to them. They're ostracized in that small community. Nobody wanted to comfort them. Nobody wanted to sleep with them other than these statements. We knocked on the door. We showed up, and we were able to comfort these individuals. They lost their grandson, as well. Grandma was shot in the face. Grandpa didn't know what to do. So we were there talking to them. We got looked upon like, what are y'all doing? Why are y'all there with them? Well, you think they're experiencing traumas. So again, it's just not. It's hard to say how do you put a good guy and a bad guy, even though everybody experienced trauma any way, shape, or form. So we're there for everyone.
How much time we have? 10 minutes? Okay, I wanted to say that we're 100% volunteers. We don't have any paid staff in our organization. We're always looking for volunteers. anyone could join us if they pass a psych test, an application, and we look for they have a heart to do this, not for to put on a resume or prestige. Is basically to be able to have the time to do it and be able to do it. And then they have to go through the training. And when they go through the training, they learn what to say, what not to say, but also in the training, we take calls and we'll see who's the best in the class. We'll ask them, can you take this call? And it'll be a suicide call. And they have to talk the person out of committing suicide. And the whole class could give notes to the person, whatever, on the live call and see how they handle it. Of course, there's people that are going to step in if something gets out of the line or something like that. We have an 800 number, and it's 800-427-9961 we put out there. And a lot of times sometimes we get lonely adults that call, elderly adults. We get people that want to commit suicide. One time at 2 a.m. in the morning, person calls the number. I said, hello. She goes, I wanted someone to know my name and where I am before I kill myself. Goodbye. Luckily, the 800 number does track the address and name and stuff like that. It was actually 2 blocks away. It was an elderly lady that wanted it. And they were able to pump her stomach. She took a whole bunch of painkillers and some other stuff and saved her. But if you take this, if you volunteer, you have to think about, you have to take these type of calls and be able to respond and use common sense and not freeze up when you have to. And that's why we have a psych exam and they give you a stress test and stuff to see if you're able to do this kind of stuff, because not everybody can. The training, initial training is 4 days, and then we have ongoing training. And I'll give you one quick example. We were down in the Rio Grande Valley, and we 2 hours before this class was graduating, a police chief and fire chief calls me and says, is anyone done yet with the graduation? We got a call waiting for them, holding for them. I go, nobody, none of these people that are about to graduate have any experience. So we'll take someone with us. But it was as a fireman, and an EMT and a police officer. They were both young, first year, responded to a lady at a gas station who poured gas all over herself, and she goes, I want you to talk me out of committing suicide. And they're both there talking to her, and she goes, see if you could save me, and she lit herself on fire. Later she died. Well, the policeman and the firefighter both didn't return to work after the call. And the police chief, fire chief says, can you check to see if they're okay? Did they quit? We don't know. They won't answer us. They won't talk to us. Can you go talk to them? They both felt guilty. It was their fault. They couldn't save the lady. And we had to tell them, you cannot prevent someone from killing themselves if they want to kill themselves. You did the best that you could, and that's the only thing you could do. So they both returned to work 3 days later after talking to us for hours and going through a lot of stuff. But those are the kind of calls we get. And that was like 2 hours before these people graduate. We left as trainers, and all those people now are down there handling those calls, and they're all doing a good job. But I just want to let you know a little bit what we do. We are trying to raise funds right now for 2, we call them trailers that are insulated, that have a table and chairs with air conditioning. So when we go out, we usually go out to places that are in the middle of nowhere. And in Texas, it's 100 degrees plus. If they're survivors of an incident, we can't talk to them in 100-degree heat outside in the middle of nowhere. So we want to be able to bring them in the air conditioning and talk to them and maybe bring them somewhere or a little bit safer from wherever they are. And it could be a car wreck where children die and there's one survivor. And the police are taking a report and they call us. We don't know what to say to this guy. He just lost his wife and 3 kids in a car accident. Can you come talk to him? Well, they're in the middle of the freeway, in the middle of nowhere, on the hot cement off one of the deals. What are we supposed to do with her? So we try to put her in the car, but a lot of times people are kind of hesitant to get in a car with a stranger. So we wanted to have something that looked nice that they could come in and sit and cool off. So we're trying to raise donations for that, basically, and to help our mission to deploy. Going to Kerrville cost us $15,000 for 12 people when we were there. James Avery did step in and pay for our lodging, which was really nice of them. So, but when we deploy, we all use our credit cards. That's how we pay for everything. So, because most grants out there are for government agencies, but since we're a Christian agency, it cuts us off from a lot of funding. And we have to fight that enemy all the time. Does anybody here have any questions? We'll open it up for questions. You could ask any of us. Yes, there's a place for donations on the website. Just go to wscnetwork.org. The training? The trailer, we're looking at used ones, and they're $30,000 each. Two, one for South Texas, one for North Texas. That way we could get anywhere in between if we need to. We could bring it south and they could come north. So we could have one. And of course, he'd like to have something to put his dog in to keep it cold. In incidents.
So additional support that you all have emotionally, what does that look like?
For us, we have a board, and we have a psychiatrist, professional counselors, ministers. Whenever we were in Kerrville, every night we would have a process group and process all our feelings. We have a saying, if we're not right in the head, we can't help anybody else. So if we get a call, and I said, Paul, can you deploy to this thing? He goes, man, I just had an argument with my wife. We ain't going to send them out. So we constantly make sure we're all in check, because our health is important to be able to help anybody else.
I just want to make guys what it is that where he do next first us I think is suicide first several years ago for about 10 years. So it's a your little tackle us all that he get with the aid of with someone back with suicide by your those are traumatic things. When I in that he did act that as possible I support that was there. So I do that the out or with there is it Chapel sees place where was first spot you were that out place Siligri. It's a deal.
And for the Carrollton chaplain, we have 20 police agency chaplains with our group that help in an extreme emergency. So we'd like to recruit you.
But touching base with suicide there, just a couple of years ago, Harris County Sheriff Department had 70 suicides in one part. So you stop and scratch your head there, like, why so many in 1 month? And I wrote several of these deputies, and we're like, what did you notice? Like, one of them in this bar parish, it goes, because I see it map, but I didn't notice it there. Every day on shift, she wanted to come Starbucks and get a cup of coffee. Every day. He will pass the day Starbucks. And bird, I should drip for the work, hooks up some. And so it's if I just thought now, the little things is just Starbucks, like coffee. You make up talk to her, they saw that maybe you could have, they could have seen that sooner. But, quick letter, right? Suicide drill, awful thing, bit weights heavily on our is going to verse suicide. The thing we see, this we hear on a day, makes it like all this, so you see so much trouble at the short time, right? At that deep hope with that, like we're talking about, where we let this emotion go at the matter. So we just get emotional, just talking about Kerrville. That's been over a year ago. Well, they goes with Marshall and Neil.
When I got back to Kerrville, I'll see that people represent like, why on your eat breakfast up did start breakfast.
So things like that were curious. our friendly shirt that they gave them when after they finished the training. It said "Need prayer," cap on the shoulder. I didn't shoot. Yes. That's what we wear is very skirt. So and it breaks.
We have a 98 stickers on our car for suicide prevention. But having it on the car, people will come up to us and say, "Do you talk to crazy people or people that need help?" I go, "Yes, we help anybody." And we get a lot of people that need help just because we have that on our car.
Yeah.
And because they don't know who to talk to. I say, "Yeah." And then I also said, "Well, last time I called 988, they sent the police to get me. If I talk to you, are you going to call the police?" I said, "If you're going to harm yourself, we're going to get you some help." So we tell them right up front. So if you're going to harm yourself or harm somebody else, we got to report it. Otherwise, everything is in confidence. So we try to keep that. And I hope this organization will continue to grow on and go on for years after I'm gone and Paul's gone and everyone else. That'll keep growing. We have 20 some agency chaplains. That means they're full-time chaplains with a police department, a hospital, hospice, fire department chaplains, and they come if like a train derails and we have multiple casualties, their departments will let them go to that. Then we have community chaplains that just stay in their area and they don't want to travel anywhere. And then we got the response team that we leave at a moment's notice to go wherever we need it in the state of Texas. So those are the three areas. And we have elderly people in there that have a lot of experience. If they could just answer the phone to those calls and be trained, they don't have to go anywhere as long as they're willing to be on a response to answer phone calls. Because we get, like I said, all kinds of phone calls all the time. So if you're interested in volunteering, just let us know. And if we could help your agencies in any way, let us know. So